All right, Andy, because now I'm lost. The power went out in my house.
Really?
Apparently, a breaker flipped, and I was without power, a little puppy, and my girlfriend Marie, and so we are now back, up and running, talking about 2010 reboot of Karate Kid.
You blew a load. I mean, you blew a fuse.
Yes, we literally blew a fuse. So listen, I'll just summarize.
You blew a
some
fuse.
Good discussion. Again, I felt like there was a good movie there, the 2010 reboot. And that it definitely was weighed down by the connection to the Karate Kid. There was a couple of wonky things. I think I was going to go over that before we hit technical difficulties. But again, at some of the things you talked about, you had a really good point. I mentioned Mr. Han does the muscle memory with having the young Dre take off the jacket, put it on.
Right.
And you made a good point of we've seen that before.
And before it was like a surprise, and now we knew exactly what he was doing. But wait, before I forget, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Like, you listed the Karate Kid as the original as one of your favorites ever. And it's definitely one of mine, but here's the thing. We can still watch that movie, and we can watch the ending, and we can still catch all the feels from it all these years later. Agreed?
Agreed.
Even though we've seen it hundreds of times for 30-something years. If it had never existed, okay, if that movie had never existed and this Jaden Smith Karate Kid 2010 thing were its own animal, would it have the same kind of staying power? Would the end of this movie hit us the way, or at all, even close to the way that one did?
Okay. So my first point will be specific to the movie. The young man who I never bought into Dre. The young man who plays the antagonist, the bully.
Yeah,
I feel he's so much more physically bigger and imposing. I had a hard time at that ending tournament, even buying in that Jaden Smith could defeat him in a kung fu. Now, to your point about if this was a standalone movie, Karate Kid never happened, would it have the same effect on me? No. For a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm older. I mean, I'm just trying to be honest here. I'm older. I'm a little bit more cynical. I think my reaction would have been fairly similar, which is a nice movie, a Disney-fication. It sort of has that Disney, it kind of plays around the edges. It's not too edgy. I would have said enjoyable movie. You got 2 hours, to kill, and you want to see something that's going to hold your attention. Yes, but would it have the result of the Karate Kid? No. I mean, I was a changed young man when I left the theater after the Karate Kid.
Yeah, but even today, I've watched the original with a very close cynical eye, because I'm older and cynical as well. And it still fires on all thrusters, and it's just like at the end when he's getting ready to do that crane thing, the stakes couldn't be higher. Everything that we've just went through for the last 2 hours is in this dude's foot right now, as it were. I didn't get anything like that from the new one, regardless of where the other one came. Because when you see like Johnny in the first one, all right, or in the original, he's a 3-dimensional character. You see him. My brother and I disagree on this. I don't think you hate him. My brother disagrees, but I don't think you hate him. I think he's the antagonist, but you see him as, a misunderstood kind of rough around the edges kind of guy who got his girl taken from him, and he's fighting back, and he's a pain in the ass, and all this stuff. So you're sort of with him on that mat as well, this other guy in the new one, it's 10 years old already, but in the new one, you just don't. There's nothing there. There's no dimension. I mean, that's what I get from it.
Okay, so a couple of points. Number one, I hated Johnny. I'm going to go on the record. I disagree with you that.
Okay.
I mean, William Zabka was the go-to blonde bully in the 80s. So let me just, I didn't, I do remember the redemptive moment, but overall, no, I did not like Johnny at all. Now, to your point, look, here's what I'll say about it. You had kind of prepped me. You had let me know without getting into details that you did not like the 2010 movie. I had not seen it, so when I sat down to watch it 2 weeks ago, I was expecting a pile of dog crap, and I was pleasantly surprised by the performances. I was pleasantly surprised by the cinematography. I thought it was a beautifully shot movie. It just, it didn't hit the mark as the original, and we talked about for a variety of reasons why it didn't, but alone, it's not a bad movie. That's my point. And I thought Jackie Chan was really phenomenal in this movie as Mr. Han. It was a nuanced performance. I'm not a big Jackie Chan's filmography. I don't know it frontward to backward, but the stuff I saw, I mean, he really had some acting depth there, and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, is that on my end a fair statement to say?
Absolutely, and I think I've said the same thing. On its own, it's not a bad movie, but on its own, it doesn't hold a candle to its predecessor.
Guru, was anyone crying for a Karate Kid reboot? I mean,
I don't think so.
Let me ask you a question. All these reboots that come and go and fail, is it? You had your hand in Hollywood for a while. Lack of creativity, lack of scripts. What's going on here? I mean,
I think
Karate Kid needs to be rebooted.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because it depends how you're going to do it. I understand the idea of taking these great. You got to remember the 20th century was the birth of movies and that kind of storytelling. All right, so to take these formulas that worked so well and try to adapt them for today's younger audiences is perfectly fine. You just got to do it right. So, to speak to your point, what they did with the Karate Kid, starting with not even making it about karate, and doing it, the way they did, is juxtapose that against what they're doing, and it brings us to where we're going next week with Cobra Kai. That's an example of taking that formula and truly adapting it in a completely new but old way, if that makes any sense, because they don't rely heavily on. I don't know how to put this. Let me switch gears for a second. Let me go to Star Wars. Okay, they were making these new Star Wars things, and the reason they didn't work is because people are going to see these things because they want to see the old guard. They want to see Harrison Ford. They want to see Luke Skywalker. They want to see, these people return. And basically, what the Star Wars movies did was they made that it was like. Now this is gonna be a triple metaphor. It's like when the WWE had Roddy Piper walk Sean O'Hare to the ring, trying to put Sean O'Hare over using an old guard. That's kind of what Star Wars did. They said, okay, we got these old guys around for the fan service to sell us on the new people. That's not what Cobra Kai does. Cobra Kai, it's still about Daniel and Johnny. But because it's still about them and what they care about, we care about what they care about. So that's why the new characters that they've come up with are so well developed and three-dimensional. For some reason, they've done Cobra Kai the way that these things should be done.
Well,
I don't know what I just said, but I think I said
you had
something.
a great as usual. You had a great point, but let me just boil it down for everybody. I mean, when I saw, look, we'll discuss this a lot next week or our next show. But when Cobra Kai came out, and I started reading about it, where can they really go with this? And so that's an avenue of creativity, because I agree with you. It's still at core about Daniel and Johnny, but all of a sudden now you have families, you have businesses, you have children, and the way they've creatively woven that into this universe is really awesome, very creative. And they've taken a second look at some old stuff. And now that I'm older, I'm suddenly looking at something that I looked at when I was 11 and 12, and I was so damn sure that Daniel was good guy, and now all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know. And that was, I think, the first thing I said to you, which is, to quote Billy Joel, there's a lot of shades of gray there, and I thought it was pretty darn cool. But I don't want to go. I don't want to.
But I just want to add one thing, okay, about Cobra Kai.
Ahead.
It has hit in that younger demographic.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
and in my opinion, that's because of how they've done it. And and I'm thinking of other things like the A-Team, the movie The A-Team. Did you see that?
Yes.
What did you think of that? I enjoyed it.
The A-Team movie is it's a mildly amusing popcorn movie. Nothing less.
And so is the Karate Kid. And so is the Karate Kid 2010. Because I enjoyed the A-Team, I completely made it separate from the TV series, and I did enjoy it. Does it need a sequel? Absolutely not. Fine the way it is. Fun time, a little bit memorable, just like the Karate Kid 2010. The only like I said, I don't hate it. It's not a bad movie. It's just unnecessary, and maybe the A-Team was unnecessary.
Well, let me give you my final thoughts on the movie. I'm looking at my notes.
Okay.
I wrote, Gru, there's a good movie in here, a good movie about how an adult and a child can help each other overcome trauma. The movie is beautifully shot. The acting is top-notch. The problem is it's a reboot of The Karate Kid, a reboot that no one was clamoring for. I like the movie. It's a competent, enjoyable movie, but is weighted down by The Karate Kid expectations.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Wow,
perfectly.
Your enthusiasm for my work is palpable.
Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. That was amazing. That's exactly what I was thinking. I've been trying for 2 weeks now to come up with the perfect summation, and you did it in 30 seconds.
Well,
I bow to you. I bow to you.
You're such a pop culture fan that. Look, I have like 15 pages of notes. Gru just goes off the top of his head. He's like, he's Benji. He's Benji.
I am Benji Bronx. I am Benji Bronx.
Gru, what was the overall reception and critical response to 2010 Karate Kid? Well, Andy, I'll throw it to you first. On a 100% scale, what do you think Rotten Tomatoes gave 2010 The Karate Kid?
I'm going to say it was somewhere in the 55 to 60% range.
Now, listen, guys, the people that listen to this podcast, this is why Gru knows his stuff. It got an overall approval rating of 66% based on 208 reviews. Andy, out of a scale of 1 to 10, what was the average rating given to 2010 Karate Kid?
Is that the audience?
That's through Rotten Tomatoes as well.
I would say 1 to 10. I'm going to say 7.
Yeah, based on critical reviews.
Critical. I'm going to say 5.
Okay. 6.17 out of 10.
Okay.
The site's consensus reads, it may not be as powerful as the 1984 edition, but the 2010 Karate Kid delivers a surprisingly satisfying update on the original. Gru, Metacritic, another review aggregator, out of 100, what do you think it got out of 100? Assigned a weighted score out of 100 based on 37 critical reviews.
I'm going to say 65.
This guy is on par, 61 out of 100. Great job. Actually, you'll be surprised. The audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade.
I think CinemaScore audience was higher because I remember people, especially the younger people who went to see this movie, they liked it because they're not carrying that weight into the theater that we did. So I'm going to say they gave it a 7 or an 8.
A to F scale. What would you give?
Oh.
Give it a letter grade.
Me personally or them?
No. What did Cinema score?
I'm going to say at least a B.
See, this Andy knows the stuff. They got an average grade of A actually on an A to F scale.
I'm not surprised. Younger people liked it.
Usually Cinema Score they scored a little higher than the critical reviews because I think viewers are a little more forgiving perhaps than the critics.
Yeah, and in fact, it's interesting because you'll either laugh at this or hate my guts, but every now and then I would on like a special day I'll show my class an episode of Cobra Kai, and they got so into it. And because of Cobra Kai, they went back and watched the old Karate Kids, and they realized that the new one that they liked so much was not good. Before they had seen Cobra Kai, they were like, "Oh man!" And when I mentioned Karate Kid, they're like, "Yeah, that was awesome, man. Jaden Smith is the man. Dre, yeah." And I'm like, "No, hold up, relax, take it easy." I'm telling them that's not what this is, and then because they see where it came from. They kind of realize that it's not anywhere near the quality of the originals, but yeah, people liked it when it came out. People did like it.
Clearly, to our Florida listeners, Andy's students will score very strong in the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid segment of the test
of the FSA, the FSA, they'll do very well on that EOC.
I don't know who Alexander Hamilton is, but Mr. Miyagi is letter C. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave 2010 Karate Kid a positive review, rating the film quite high, 3.5 out of 4 stars, calling it a lovely and well-made film. That stands on its own feet.
You want to know what? You know why I find that real interesting? Because I used to buy those Roger Ebert books with all of his old reviews in them.
I never bought them, but if I was in like Barnes and Noble,
you'd sit there and read them, right? Sure. I used to get them. It was he's rest his soul. He was a great movie reviewer. Not I don't even call him a critic. I call him he would really go deep in. And the Karate Kid was one of his favorites ever. Like, it was on his top 10 of the year it came out. Like, he gave it 4 stars. Like, so I would expect him to not like this one that much, but respect, with all due respect, he was able to separate the two better than I was, which is why he made so much more money than I do.
Claudia Puig of USA Today and Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly each rated the film a B, with Gleiberman saying the chemistry between Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan grounds the movie, imbuing it with sincerity and poignance, and that the film is fun and believable. Imbuing. You seem to have a vocabulary trend here on the show.
It's very nebulous.
Gru, what was the box office for the Karate Kid?
I am going to say the box office for the Karate Kid 2010 was 140 million shekels. U.S.
Okay, let me give you the synopsis here. Film was released on June 11th, 2010 by Columbia Pictures to just under 4,000 theaters across the U.S. Karate Kid topped the box office on its opening day, grossing $18.8 million, beating, as Andy referenced, the A-Team.
Really?
Which had
Same
grossed
year? Wow.
Which had grossed $9.6 million. Closed on September 18, 2010, grew after 101 days of release, grossing $176.7 million in the U.S. and Canada, along with an additional $182 million overseas, for a worldwide total of $358 million on a moderate budget of $40 million. So grew, based on my math, almost $360 million on a $40 million budget, which sounds pretty strong to me.
It is.
So I did ask, why does this feel like it's generally discarded, at best a mild win in the reboot world?
I think maybe because a lot of even though people it didn't break any new ground. Enjoy, like all the reviews said, they're all hovering.
Frozen.
I am. Evan
now
says I'm
good.
frozen. I'm good now. I'm good now.
Please, no more technical
Oh
difficulties.
my God. But what was the question again? Well,
because look, it seems
I know
like
why.
it made a lot of money.
Yeah.
It did make a lot of money.
Right, and but everybody's view of it is kind of in the B to B plus area, which is not. That doesn't have much staying power. The movies that have staying power are the ones that stay with you, the ones that knock you out, like the original Karate Kid, like the original Rocky, like those kinds of movies. This one, I guess people look at it and says, okay, not bad. Was it necessary? No. If it was better, and you could say, yes, it was necessary, they broke new ground. They went places that the original couldn't or didn't, then you have something. But they didn't really, like, we use the the jacket thing as a perfect example. They're basically just repeating something from the original where they could have done something different. And
that was my question to you.
Yeah,
that was my question, because when you have the jacket, the fire cupping, even the final fight between Dre and Chang, where Dre uses there's that technique he sees in the old it's like a Japanese poem that Mr. Han taught him.
Yeah,
they go back to the well quite a bit from some of the big pieces from Karate Kid, and I was just going to ask you, had they not done that and maybe tried to do something a little bit more creative or a little bit more original, would that have reflected a little bit better of your
definitely
on your opinion on your opinion of the film?
Absolutely, yeah. That's my biggest complaint, is that if you're gonna do that, find something new to tell. Be a little creative, and don't just retell the same exact story, because you can look. The story of these movies is all the same. It's all Rocky, and even Rocky is based on the underdog comes from nowhere and triumphs over adversity. That's a tale as old as time, and it's but you got to find new ways of telling it. That's why I think this movie kind of cursed itself by even calling itself The Karate Kid. You could remake something without giving it the same title. Happens all the time. I'll give you a great example. The movie Heaven Can Wait. You see that? Remember that?
Yes.
That was a remake of a movie called A Guy Named Joe. But everybody knew it was a remake, but it was a different title because they wanted it to have its own life. They could have done that here. They could have made it the Kung Fu Kid. No big deal. Why? Why did they have to marrying it to the Karate Kid hurt it? That's why it doesn't have the staying power that it could.
I think if they would have called it the Kung Fu Kid, it would have gotten picked apart for, it's almost like Godzilla and Godzuki. Like they would have got picked apart if they.
So call it Dre. I mean? So call it Dre and Han or something. I don't know. Whatever. Come up with something.
Well, you did mention Dre and Han. I mean, I did find one or two articles about a potential sequel. I think by now it would have been realized. I mean, we're going 11 years now. So
well, actually, it's interesting you say that, because the studios are the same, and Will Smith, who was the brainchild, I use the term loosely, behind this remake, is a producer on Cobra Kai. So this might be that there might be some connection there. Have
you seen, real quick, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion on HBO Max?
I saw that. I enjoyed it.
So did I.
I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was very tasteful. I thought it was very. I liked the old Aunt Viv coming back, and
that was the best part.
That was very nice, very honest.
I was thinking you don't get much honesty anymore in Hollywood, and that was a pretty shockingly honest.
Oh, I wanted her to slap his ass right there. That would have been great. But.
Oh, stop it! How dare you?
No, but yeah, it was really well done. I liked it.
Last couple of things on Karate Kid 2010. Let's see, Jackie Chan won a People's Choice Award in 2011 for Favorite Action Star. He won Favorite Butt Kicker in the 2011 Kids' Choice Awards. And the movie had several nominations for the MTV Movie Awards and Teen Choice Awards and did not win. So, Gru, that would wrap up the best of the rest. The next Karate Kid 2010, the Karate Kid reboot. Gru, final thoughts and anything else you'd like to muse on? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to, I sort of held my nose going into this because these are not my favorites. But I have in listening to everything that you said, I kind of have a new sort of appreciation for the reboot. But next Karate Kid will stay exactly where it was, and that
yes,
is
I agree. Next Karate Kid is
in the crapper.
I'm not going to call it a pile of dog s, but it's pretty close.
And I think the people who made it would also. I mean, you know.
And I think again, I'd like to just say I was peppered going into it. Really, your feedback and a lot of people's feedback are these are not two good films. And I'm not saying, again, 2010 it's not an Academy Award winner, but I was surprised as how much I liked it. It held my attention. I don't know if "like" is the correct word, but because it's compared.
Well, like you said, it's not a bad movie. It's not.
Yeah.
Next Karate Kid is a bad movie.
Oh.
And the only thing, the only thing I was looking forward to in revisiting that is because it's like you can watch Miyagi do anything, but not in that. Like I was real, like
it falls into parody.
Yes,
I think you should really come clean.
Yeah.
The two biggest reasons you liked the movie was Hilary Swank's breasts and navel.
Yeah, her two nipples were my favorite parts of the movie.
Well,
remember, guys, everybody, she was 20 years old. All right, she might have been playing a 16-year-old, but I gotta, that's creepy. She was 20 years old. I looked it up.
I mean, if you could only see what we would talked about 20 years ago, and now we have to caveat everything.
Well,
it's so sad.
Sad. We have so much to lose, don't we?
Yeah, I guess. All right, Gru, that is it for the Karate Kid, the best of the rest. Next week, we're going to go to the Cobra-Kai Season 1 Roundtable.
Yes.
We will break down, we'll discuss the beginnings of Cobra-Kai, the formation, filming, background, all that good stuff, and then we'll get into Season 1. I remember Andy excitingly calling me and saying, you got to watch this television show on YouTube. I didn't even know, I wasn't even aware of it, did some research and read about it, and certainly looking forward to it. Andy, want to give us a preview of what you're looking forward to, Season 1, Cobra Kai Roundtable?
I just love talking Cobra Kai. I mean,
you got to see the look on his face. He's actually smiling on Zoom while he's discussing Cobra Kai.
It's like I don't know, just like I love it when shit just works. When something you're looking forward to just exceeds your expectations. How many times does that happen? Like
not a lot.
Like when I was, and look, we'll get into this next week, but when I first heard about this Cobra Kai idea, like Danny and Johnny, 30 years later, I'm like, all right, that'll be a nice parody. It'll be fun to watch, but it'll be silly. And it was anything but. They took it seriously, and the only thing I can compare it to was my reaction to like Rocky Balboa, which was like not so like you would say that, and when it was being made, and everyone was like, "Oh, enough already!" It's going to suck. The last one sucked, and like, how could this one be good? And then you go see that one, you're like, "Wow, it probably could not have been better. It exceeded expectations," and I just love it when that happens. And this is a case. This is the case with Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I have to echo Andy's thoughts. When I went into it, I was hopeful, similar to Rocky Balboa. I was hoping, and then when I've watched it, I was saying to myself, yeah, they struck gold, and there's a lot of good stuff there. You're going to be honest, though? Will you be critical if it needs to happen?
If it needs to happen, yes, but I have to be honest with you. I've been trying to find things that, I've binge watched both seasons at least 3 times each since they've come out.
God.
Yeah. There's not much. I mean, it's been a pandemic, so why watch anything new, But it's hard to find. There are a couple things, but it's very difficult to find anything. It's near perfect, if not completely perfect. But I do have a couple things that I will give you that I think could have been just maybe a tad different or maybe a little more developed, but not much.
Well, I'm hopeful. On my end, they just announced on Hulu FX will be doing an Alien television series.
I saw that. It's
going to be helmed by the writer for Fargo, the TV version, the show Fargo. So I'm actually very excited for that. But next week it will be season 1 Cobra-Kai Roundtable, and Andy, you want to take us out here?
With surprise guests. We're not telling.
Possibly, yes. We will. Yes. We'll put a little something on our Facebook. Get that back up and running, and
yes.
Looking forward to season 1 Cobra Kai Roundtable.
Yes. So we apologize for the technical glitches, but we came back stronger than ever. And next
look what
week,
we've overcome in just a couple of weeks.
Yes. Look what we have overcome. COVID. At least half of us. But yeah, somebody got a new dog, and he's gleaming,
yes,
he's glowing.
Braxton.
He's glowing with pride. So yeah, and Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are on Raw next week, so I'm very excited about that.
Right.
Yes. They're obviously a little bit desperate right now, from what I'm reading, but we'll get into that later. Howard Stern has been playing on 101 some of our favorite serious bits, so things are looking up for 2021. The vaccine
Certainly
is out there, and entertainment-wise, there is no shortage of stuff for us to talk about here on Nothing Worthwhile. So we look forward to seeing you next week when we discuss the legend that is Cobra Kai. So until then, 1, 2, 3.
Rip 'em. Whack, whack.